Listen closely, because what you're about to hear is one of the most heartbreaking and unexpected stories ever to rise from the Wild West. A young Apache girl wandering the desert with the belief that no man on earth would ever want her, and a lonely rancher who took her in without knowing the dangerous storm that followed her footsteps. This story will shake your heart, test your breath, and pull you deep into a world where courage meets destiny. So before we begin, make sure you subscribe, share, and comment. Now let's start this story. The sun was sinking behind the San Carlos hills when she appeared, barefoot, trembling, her long black hair whipping in the wind like a torn flag of surrender. The young Apache girl moved slowly, as if each step cost her the last piece of strength she had left. Her dress was ripped, her lips cracked, her eyes red from crying. She looked like someone the world had forgotten to save. When she finally saw the rancher on horseback, she didn't run or hide. She simply lowered her head and whispered words he barely heard. "No man wants me, no one ever will." Rafe Hensley wasn't the kind of man who startled easily. Years alone on a lonely ranch had carved him into something steady, weathered by storms, tempered by loss. But when he heard her voice, something sharpened in his chest, a feeling he hadn't allowed himself in years. He slid down from his horse, hands raised to show he meant no harm. She didn't flinch, but her whole body trembled, like she expected even kindness to hurt. He stepped closer, his voice low and steady, asking only the simplest question, "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, though every part of her said otherwise. The desert had punished her harshly, blisters on her feet, cuts along her arms, exhaustion so deep it hollowed her eyes. Rafe took off his coat and draped it around her shoulders. She stiffened at first, as if shocked by warmth, then slowly melted into it. Without another word, he lifted her gently onto his horse. She clung to the saddle horn with weak hands, her breaths ragged but steadying. Whatever had chased her out here, Rafe knew it was nothing she could face alone. The ride back to the ranch was quiet, broken only by the sound of the horses' hooves and the wind brushing past them. Rafe didn't press her for answers. He sensed that silence was the only kindness she could handle. Every now and then, she would glance over her shoulder, as if expecting something or someone to emerge from the desert behind them. When she realized nothing followed, she'd exhale with trembling relief. Rafe tightened his grip on the reins, getting her toward the glow of his cabin as the final light faded from the sky. Inside the cabin, warmth wrapped around her like a soft blanket. She hesitated at the doorway, one foot inside, one out, as if uncertain she deserved shelter. Rafe gave her water first, then a place near the fire. She sat carefully, clutching his coat like a shield, eyes scanning the room with wide, frightened curiosity. He handed her a bowl of hot stew. Her hands shook so much the spoon clicked against the bowl. When she tasted the first bite, tears spilled down her cheeks, not because it burned, but because it had been so long since anything comforted her. Rafe asked her name only when she seemed strong enough to answer. Her voice was faint but clear. "Nia," she whispered. "My mother named me after the silent river." Something in the way she said it, soft, fragile remembering, made Rafe look at her longer than he meant to. He nodded and told her she could sleep safely by the fire. She stared at him for a moment, searching for deceit, then slowly lay down. As she curled under the blanket, Rafe saw how small she seemed. And how heavy the world's weight looked on her shoulders. That night Rafe didn't sleep much. He sat at the table, elbows on his knees, listening to the crackle of the fire and Nia's soft, uneven breathing. His mind raced with questions. Who abandoned her? What danger had she run from? Why did she look so defeated? But he didn't wake her to ask. Instead, he kept watch over her like a man guarding a fragile flame. When dawn crept through the windows, she was still sleeping peacefully. For the first time since he'd found her, her face looked young, still bruised by hardship, but calmer, like she felt safe. When Nia stepped outside at sunrise, she moved with reverence. She knelt by the water trough, dipped her hands into the cold water, and whispered a prayer Rafe didn't understand but felt deeply. Her voice was soft, trembling yet anchored in something spiritual. When she noticed him watching, she startled, then smiled shyly, just a small, fleeting curve of her lips, but enough to soften the morning. She told him it was the first sunrise in many moons where she woke without fear. Rafe didn't reply. He didn't need to. The quiet between them said enough. Over the next few days, Nia found little pieces of purpose around the ranch. She fed the chickens, brushed the horses, swept the porch clean. She moved silently, unconsciously graceful, as if trying not to disturb the world around her. Sometimes Rafe caught her humming old Apache melodies, songs that drifted across the ranch like healing smoke. But every now and then, he saw shadows pass over her face. She would stare toward the desert, eyes haunted by memories she had not yet shared. Rafe didn't ask. He knew wounds like hers didn't open easily. One evening while folding laundry beside him, she finally revealed the truth she carried. Her tribe had cast her out, she said quietly. They claimed she carried misfortune. They said she wasn't worthy of marriage, family, or a home. They told her no man would ever want her. For a long time she believed them. Those words, spoken softly, cut deeper than screams. Rafe clenched his jaw, fighting anger. People can be cruel, he said, but they're not always right. Nia looked at him with trembling eyes. Then why did you take me in? Her voice held disbelief and longing. Rafe didn't answer immediately. He stepped closer, studying her face, tired, vulnerable, searching. Finally, he spoke with quiet certainty. Because you needed help. Because whatever they made you believe, you deserve better. And because no one should walk this world thinking they're unwanted. Nia's breath hitched. For a moment, she looked like a flower lifting after a long drought. But neither of them knew that this gentle beginning was only the calm before a storm, one that would test everything Rafe had just promised her. Because danger was already approaching the ranch, and it was coming straight for Nia. The storm arrived on a hot, restless afternoon. Rafe had been mending a broken fence post when he felt the air shift, heavy, tense, carrying the scent of danger. Nia was gathering herbs near the barn when her body suddenly froze, her eyes fixed on the horizon. 3 riders were approaching fast, their silhouettes sharp against the swirling dust. The moment she recognized them, her face drained of color, her breath hitched. She stumbled back as if struck. "They're from my tribe," she whispered, voice trembling, "but not good men. They chased me before. They wanted to sell me." Rafe felt something cold crawl up his spine. "Sell you?" The words came out like a growl. Nia nodded, shaking violently. "They said I was worth silver in the border markets. I ran before they could take me. Now they've found me again." Rafe's jaw tightened, every muscle in his body coiling like a drawn bow. "Not here," he said. "Not while I'm breathing." He stepped in front of her, placing himself between her and the approaching riders, his hand hovering near his gun, but not yet drawing. He wasn't eager for blood, but he wasn't afraid of it either. The riders pulled up hard in a cloud of dirt. Their horses snorted angrily, hooves scraping. The leader, a tall, vicious-looking man with a scar running across his cheeks, spat on the ground. "We're here for the girl," he barked. "She belongs to us." Rafe didn't move an inch. "She belongs to no one." The man laughed, a low, cruel sound. "Come on now, rancher, don't be stupid. She's unwanted, she's cursed, she's nothing." Rafe felt Nia flinch behind him. That single word, unwanted, cut her deeper than any blade. But Rafe stepped closer, fury burning unmistakably in his eyes. "She is wanted here," he growled, each word sharp as iron. "She's safe here, and you will ride away before I make you regret stepping foot on my land." The men exchanged glances, uncertain. The leader leaned forward in his saddle, scowling. "You willing to die for her?" Rafe didn't blink. "I'm willing to kill for her." The silence that followed stretched like a wire ready to snap. Finally, the leader pulled his reins sharply. "This ain't over, rancher," he spat. They turned their horses and thundered away, their curses echoing behind them. Only when they disappeared over the rise did Nia finally collapse to her knees. Rafe knelt beside her, taking her gently into his arms. Her breaths came in broken gasps. Her hands shook uncontrollably. Why did you stand up for me?" she whispered. "Why risk everything for someone like me?" Rafe lifted her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Because someone should have protected you long before I found you. Because you deserve safety. Because your life matters. And because," he hesitated, swallowing hard, "you mean something to me, Nia. Something I can't ignore." Her eyes widened, glistening with tears that fell softly onto his hands. "No one has ever said that to me." Over the next few days, Nia moved through the ranch like someone recovering from a storm she barely survived. She kept close to Rafe, not out of fear but out of trust she never thought she'd feel again. At night, she would sit on the porch while he checked the perimeter, her eyes following him with a quiet, growing attachment. Rafe reinforced the gates, double-checked the locks, and kept his rifle within reach. He didn't say it out loud, but he knew those men might return. And if they did, he was ready to face them again without hesitation. One evening, the sky glowed orange as the sun sank behind the hills. Nia sat on the porch steps, wrapped in a light shawl, watching the fading colors melt into the horizon. Rafe joined her, sitting beside her in the warm dusk. For a long moment they said nothing. The silence felt full, meaningful. Then Nia spoke, her voice soft. I've never had a place where I felt safe. Never had someone stand between me and danger. Never had someone look at me the way you do. Rafe swallowed, his chest tightening. How do I look at you? She turned toward him slowly. Like I'm not a burden, like I'm not cursed, like I'm precious. Rafe exhaled shakily. You are precious, Nia, whether your tribe saw it or not, whether anyone ever told you or not. You are worthy of love, honor, and a life with dignity. Her eyes shimmered with a mixture of fear and longing. Rafe, is it wrong if I want to stay here, not just on the ranch, but with you? His breath caught. He had been trying to ignore his growing feelings, trying to be cautious. But the truth pressed against his ribs, like a heartbeat finally finding rhythm. He reached for her hand, fingers trembling slightly as they brushed against hers. Nia, I don't want you here because you owe me anything. I want you here because I want you, because I haven't felt alive like this in years. Because when I wake up and know you're nearby, everything feels different. Her lips parted, her voice quivering. Then I choose you, Rafe, if you'll have me. The world seemed to pause, suspended in the quiet desert air. Rafe leaned in, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Then I choose you too. They kissed, soft, hesitant, overflowing with everything they didn't say. Life began to bloom again on the ranch. Nia's laughter returned, delicate but growing stronger each day. She planted flowers along the porch, their colors bright against the weathered wood. She cooked meals with gentle care, humming old songs as she worked. Rafe found himself smiling in ways he hadn't in years. He would watch her brush the horses with patient hands, her dark hair shimmering in the sunlight, and he knew, without question, that she had become the soul of his quiet world. But the desert was never a place that let happiness remain unchallenged. Because the men who hunted Nia were not finished. Somewhere beyond the horizon, they were gathering again, angry, humiliated, and ready for revenge. And this time, they weren't coming to bargain. They were coming to take her.